My name's Ryan Cundiff in the Game Design 2 course at Full Sail University, and I'll be discussing how I successfully implemented a core mechanic from this poster right here, ThimbleRig 2012, um, into a program such as UDK. This poster was created by another student at Full Sail. Um, it was accomplished by means of Microsoft Visio with the flowchart over here. Looks like some Excel as well with these um, tables at the bottom, and perhaps some external resources as well. Um, the mechanic I'll be talking about today is the core mechanic listed above, Shuffle, Recognize, and Choose by this designer. Um, and I successfully implemented it, as I mentioned before, in Unreal Development Kit. And I'll be talking about how I succeeded in that process. So I'll switch over to UDK now and explain it a little better for you. Okay, so I've set up a room here, a basic room. The concept of the game itself is basically like a sleight of hand game that you would see, you know, a magician could do or something to that nature. So you'll see something revealed, or the token will be revealed, and then it will be hidden once more, concealed, and rearranged amongst other objects of a similar nature. And it's up to the user, or the player in this case, to determine where that object stands after the shuffle has taken place. So in the case of my game, you can see some of the resources I've used. I've used a camera that the game will cut to during after a certain sequence has activated. Specifically, when this trigger is used, the player is going to spawn right behind this first pedestal here, so they'll walk up to this first static mesh, and the only option is to interact with it, so they will press E, interact with that object, and a matinee will trigger, which cuts to the camera view, fades to it, a light will be revealed. In this case, since it's just a prototype, I have but one option, one matinee that takes place every time. So just for the sake of completing the mechanic, it's going to happen the same every time. But I did put multiple after the shuffle options for the player to choose, just to see if they passed or failed based on watching how they were shuffled. So as I mentioned before, the player walks up to this first podium, encounters or interacts with the object, and it cuts to the camera. You'll see the light, this blue light will turn on, it will cut back off, the objects will be shuffled, and it will cut back to the player. The camera will cut back to the player, and they will gain movement once more, and they will be able to select between the three of these pedestals down here to determine whether they've succeeded or failed in the process of following the token, following the blue light. And once they interact with one of these three, all the lights will light up at their current positions, and pass or fail will be indicated to the player at that time. Some of the interactions that take place, I've already mentioned most of them. You'll be using triggers. The player will be using triggers. Most of the interactions are external, so not really input by the player, but nevertheless it is necessary to watch what's going on to understand the mechanics of the game. I didn't incorporate a time element to this game, as I was just focusing on the shuffle. Back to the poster, the Shuffle, Recognize, and Choose core mechanic that was displayed in ThimbleRig 2012. So the only goal of this particular prototype is to successfully choose the one of the three down here and choose the correct one, of course. The goal as a designer, from my perspective, was to translate the mechanic from the poster, from the design poster, which was strictly a design document, into a prototype format. So I feel that I successfully did that. The token, I guess there's two tokens in this case, one of which is the player. The second token will be the blue light that lights up to indicate what to follow when the player is interacting with the first pedestal. Obstacles, the only obstacle here is the shuffling of the boxes themselves in the back of the room. The player needs to maintain focus to understand what's going on. So what I'll do is go ahead and play through the game at this point, and then I'll open up Kismet and explain how I accomplished that. So as you can see, the player starts behind the pedestal. You walk up to it, press E to interact. You'll see the blue light up. The boxes are shuffling at this time, and since I know the answer, I'll go over to the right one here, which is where the blue light is, and interact once more. It says congratulations, all boxes light up. You can see the blue ones on the right, and the triggers are set up so that you can still interact with the other ones. So let's say I try this one now. It says wrong because it's green in front of you, and that's that. Successful implementation of the mechanic. And all these visuals around are just to, I guess, distract the player as well as immerse them within the experience, even though it is a prototype. So I'll back out and show you the Kismet now. Okay, I've got it organized into simple comments. The first section in Kismet over here is simply disabling the lights that were all there. I actually used 2 sets of lights. It's a little bit deep to go into at this time, but just know that there are hidden lights there that have been turned off, and then others that turn on to eliminate the need for excessive matinee utilization. Also, the announcement plays that says focus is there. That all happens as soon as the level loads. And then the very first pedestal that you come to that triggers the entire matinee, that matinee is the actual boxes moving. I've toggled cinematic mode so that the player can't move while the shuffling is taking place, so they have to focus on the camera's perspective. And of course toggling the blue light on and off to show the actual target. And up here, spawning off the same trigger used as a simple delay and a sound, just to add some effect to the shuffling. This comment right here indicates the correct feedback. So this would be the trigger to the very right of the 3. After the shuffling has taken place, it will toggle all the lights on, play the congratulations announcement, and play the successful sound. Down here, the left trigger as well as the middle trigger both go into the same toggle. All the lights will be toggled once more, but these will be linked to a wrong announcement that will display and a negative feedback sound. So that's all the Kismet. So I'll back that out. As far as the boxes are concerned, the actual matinees, I've been pretty experienced in matinee from my previous experiences in other courses. So I just set up spacing, timing, some delays going on. They do overlap one another a little bit, which that could be tweaked a bit, but like I said, this is a prototype and it was just testing a specific mechanic from a design poster. So that about covers the entirety of my goal with this assignment, with the poster, with translating information from the poster to another program such as UDK and implementing the mechanic of shuffle, recognize, and choose within UDK. And as I mentioned before, there is a timer here, there's a score feature that's displayed on the poster itself, as well as some bonus items like clear cups activated. Looks like that's a different mechanic entirely. And as I mentioned, of course, the main focus was just shuffling the boxes, revealing the light before the boxes were shuffled, and allowing the player to choose to determine if the mechanic can be tested in that way. And further implementation of UDK obviously could make this game a lot more complex. You could have multiple matinees, you could have random integers that the designer won't even know the order in which the boxes will rotate, so the designer himself or herself will have to pay attention as well. And you could link all those up to these 3 pedestals once more to be more dynamic in nature, so that they will adapt based on the position of the boxes as well as the position of the lights. But that covers this presentation for translating mechanic from a design poster perspective to a game designer's perspective within game creation software, Unreal Development Kit. And that being said, my name's Ryan Cundiff in Game Design 2 at Full Sail University, and that covers it.